Good morning. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Chris, for letting me be here today. I promised I would keep it brief. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for your generous contribution towards our drop-in, which we now call our community space. And I wanted to give you a brief update on how we are using the space and the changes that have been made and the programs that we are now offering at Bissell Center. We recently made a video, and I thought that would be the best way to show you all what is going on at Bissell Center right now. This is just a portion of the video, and the full video is on bissellcenter.org. And I'll be around as well, and I'd love to talk with you all if you have any questions about what's going on at Bissell Center. So again, thank you all so much. We're really appreciative of your support.
This main floor has been completely remodeled. What once was a square room with tables and chairs separated from critical supports is now totally opened up. We've packed it full of amenities to address the unique challenges people face who are struggling with poverty and homelessness, and we've made it way easier for people to enroll in programs and workshops. When we open the doors for the day, people come in hungry, and naturally their first stop is the food station. So it's a grab-and-go station, and we really believe that there's dignity in being able to make your own choices and get the food you want when you need it. So we have many options to meet everybody's unique needs. This is our coffee station. This thing runs non-stop. We serve about 1,000 cups a day. But let me tell you this, coffee is so much more than a hot beverage. It fuels conversation and connection. And that conversation and connection is critical for people to take the next steps in their journey. Speaking of connection, check this out. Homelessness can be very isolating, and we tend to take for granted a simple thing like access to the internet to be able to connect with family and friends. We wanted to provide that for the people that come to Bissell Center. And just as important is the opportunity to look for work, create a resume, and book appointments. So you fueled up, grabbed a couple cups of coffee, had a great conversation, and reconnected with family and friends. So now what? If you've been on the street for weeks, months, or any extended period of time, a hot shower would feel real nice. We have 3 showers. 1 is wheelchair accessible, and 4 bathrooms to meet everyone's hygienic needs. If you've had a hot shower, you've got to jump into a pair of clean clothes to start your day fresh. We have 4 commercial-grade washers and dryers that are free of charge for anyone to use. One of the major changes was tearing down the wall that was right behind me. It was a literal barrier between people and programs and services, as well as relationships, so it had to go. Now that we removed the wall, programs and workshops are happening in plain sight, which encourages participation. We have a handful of new program rooms that we're super excited about. Let me show you some of the cool things that people can access here in our new community space. This is the classroom. In this space, we do arts, teach computer basics, facilitate housing workshops, and on Tuesdays, you can even get a haircut. The Wasiitawin room. Wasiitawin is Cree for friendship. This space is for healing and reconciliation. It's properly vented for daily smudges, as well as drumming and other activities that help strengthen and nurture the mind and the spirit. The community closet. Here people can access clothing free of charge 5 days a week with a dignifying shopping experience. And our not-so-finished community kitchen. It's not quite complete yet, but if you can imagine 5 residential stoves decked out with cupboards and all the things that you would find in a home kitchen. We want to equip people who have been on the street for years, or people that just need support in the kitchen to learn about food basics like nutrition and food security. We want to equip people to be sustainable in their homes. That's how our future kitchen is going to help our community.
That's all I have. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Lauren, and we look forward to connecting with you after. I invite you to stay for a cup of coffee or whatever you need, and we'll be able to say hello to her and ask any questions about Bissell. As we gather into this space and focus on our time of spiritual gathering, let's open ourselves with a song about having this day. We're going to sing that again in a moment. We'll have another chance. That's right. When we light this candle, we recognize that we're entering a time and a space when we can see light in a new way. Perhaps being opened to something new, opened to new experiences and new people, open to seeing the light in each other. And so as we light this candle, we do so knowing that we honor all that is within us and around us. Today, we particularly honor, as we do every time we gather, the gratitude for this place and this land, the land that we find on Treaty 6 land. We honor the traditional land of Cree, Blackfoot, Nakota Sioux, Denetah, and many others. We honor that we can gather here and do what we do in a long, long tradition and history of those who have gathered on this land and who will continue to gather on this land in the future. Those languages, those cultures, those groups who continue to influence our vibrant communities. And so we give thanks and gratitude. Should we try again? Here's some notes. We have this day, the gift of now. We have this one life to give to how. Sorry. We have this one life to give to vow. It's a rich full day when our love's on display. Our word and action is how we pray. We have this day, this gift of today. With grateful hearts, we make our way. We're going to try it again. One more time. We've almost got it. Have this day, the gift of now. We have this one life to give to vow. We have this day, the gift of now. We have this one life to give to vow. It's a rich full day when our love's on display. Our word and action is how we pray. We have this day, the gift of today. With grateful hearts we make our way. time for all ages. If we don't know what that means, it means anyone who's wanting to can come up to the front, to the carpet, to the chairs, for a time of chat, talking. Today I've got something to show you. Okay. Hi. I want to talk to everyone here today about having visitors over to your house. We've all had visitors over to our house, and sometimes it's really fun, and sometimes it's really difficult. If it's people you know really well, then you can just tell them, hey, whatever you want to tell them. If it's people you know just a little, it's hard, it's difficult. I'll tell you why it's hard and difficult. Because people that come over to your house, well, they touch your stuff, they play with our toys. Sometimes that's really great, and sometimes it makes us kind of... sometimes people that come over to our house eat the food we wish we could save for ourselves. All of that happens, and it's great to have visitors over to the house, but sometimes it's okay for us to just say that sometimes it's difficult. I brought a little scene from a movie that I want to show you. This is from The Hobbit, and there's a man named Bilbo Baggins who likes to be in his little hobbit hut, and I don't think he's that fond of visitors, but he gets some very interesting visitors, so I want to show you what happens. Those people just arrive at your house and eat all your food, make a big mess. I can't even imagine. So that doesn't usually happen to us, does it? All those people coming crashing in the house. However, we do have visitors over at the house sometimes, and I guess maybe we need to use a word that's a really big word. It's called hospitality. We need to be gracious and nice and offer them things and hope that they don't just eat all of our stuff and make a huge mess. But even if they did, Bilbo Baggins here is trying to think, what is the right thing to do? And he's not sure yet. He's not sure. He's very unsure of what to do. But I have to tell you, when we have visitors at the house, even though it's difficult, it can sometimes be surprising. And we can find that we have really good things happen when people come over to the house, even if we don't know who they are. Just a little, one more piece from this movie, because I think that Bilbo is going to have something happen here. Just watch this part. All those dwarves, they invaded his space, they ate all his food, but you know what? They cleaned up, and they sang a little song. Bilbo wasn't expecting that. Sometimes when we have people over, even people, and especially people we don't know or that are very interesting and very different, something always happens that would never have happened before. I think that's one of the great things about knowing people and inviting people that we don't know very well. Something amazing might happen, and we'll have a great story to tell. So I would like to thank you for watching these little videos with me, but I also want to invite us all into a time of our whole gathering that is about unexpected visitors. So we're going to go back to our chairs, Are we going to sing another song? We're going to sing another song. Reiner, could I just ask you to mute that other channel, please? It's causing a lot of noise. This is some stories of dinner time shenanigans. We have two stories I want to share with you as a way of sharing some of the experiences Jesus had with meals and unexpected people at the meals. The first one's from Luke chapter 5. Jesus went out and saw a man named Levi at his work collecting taxes. And Jesus said, "Why don't you come with me?" And he did. So Levi gave him a large dinner at his home, and everybody was there, taxmen and other disreputable characters as guests at the dinner. The Pharisees and their religious scholars came to his disciples greatly offended. "What is this guy doing, eating and drinking with crooks and sinners?" Jesus heard about it and spoke up. "Who needs a doctor, the healthy or the sick? I'm here inviting outsiders, not insiders. An invitation to a changed life, changed inside and out." The second story comes just 2 chapters later in this writing, and it begins like this. One of the Pharisees asked Jesus over for a meal. He went to the Pharisee's house, sat down at the dinner table, and just then, a woman of the village who lived a dishonorable life, having learned that Jesus was a guest in the home of the Pharisee, came with a bottle of very expensive perfume and stood at his feet. She wept, raining tears on the feet. And so she let down her hair and dried his feet with her hair, anointed them with the perfume. When the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, "If this man was the prophet I thought he was, he would have known what kind of woman this is who is falling all over him." Jesus said to him, "Simon, I have something to tell you." 2 men were in debt to a banker. One owned 500 silver pieces and the other 50. Neither of them could pay up, and so the banker canceled both debts. Which of the 2 would be more grateful? Simon answered, I suppose the one who was forgiven the most. That's right, said Jesus. Then turning to the woman, but speaking to Simon, he said, do you see this woman? I came to your home. You provided no water for my feet, but she's rained tears on my feet and dried them with her hair. You gave me no greeting, but from the time I arrived, she hasn't quit caring for me. You provided nothing for freshening up, as any decent host would do, but she's soothed my feet with perfume. Impressive, isn't it? She's forgiven much, and so she's very grateful. If the forgiveness is minimal, the gratitude's minimal. He ignored the Pharisees' muttering and said to the woman, your commitment and your faith makes you well. You should go in peace. In these stories handed down from the Christian tradition of the first century, may we find wisdom for our living.
But the screen tells it all. Before Sam was born and during his childhood, Anne Lamott had developed a community of family and friends who had known and loved them during the lean years. She had written several notable novels and works of nonfiction. Now that Sam had moved out, Anne Lamott had the rest of her life to live. Surrounded by the love of her community, she had a wonderful home in Northern California with room for guests and dogs, and an interesting professional and personal life. One day before Lamott's Thanksgiving dinner for 25, she got a call. Sam, only 19, and a full-time arts student, told her that his girlfriend was pregnant. Or was it his ex-girlfriend? Sam and Amy had broken up a couple of months earlier, but clearly had continued to spend time together. They were keeping the baby. Jax Jesse Lamott was born on July 20th, 2009. In a new memoir, Some Assembly Required, a journal of my son's first son, Lamott, with Sam's help, recounts her surprise and acceptance of becoming a grandmother earlier than she had expected. Her fears related to Sam and Amy becoming parents at such a young age, and her daily celebration of her grandson's life. Because I'm helping Sam and Jax financially, I'm bearing the bulk of the financial responsibility, and I try to ask myself, who says this is my business? Does this have my name on it? I'm usually panicked because of my self-will and low-level hysteria. Left to my own devices, my inclination is to mess in other people's lives. I recently believed my whole family, and really the whole world, is my responsibility. But over the years, I've learned I can release people to their own destiny and do the work that's ahead of me. Writing for a certain number of hours every day, teaching, church, friendships of 25 years, my dogs and my walks. My job is to be a grandma, to keep the house safe for when Jax comes over. He and Sam usually come over on the weekends, and I visit Tuesdays at Sam's apartment. I take up the slack. I'm the outdoorsy one who convinces people to take walks with me for owl prowls. Not that we've ever seen an owl. I'm the chief librarian. My job is to be there. All parents at some point of embarrassment to their kids. Often grandparents are a relief. Kids don't have to resist you. I've had the blessing of being someone that kids really love. So a number of kids have run away to me over the years. I always feed them, make a cup of tea, and take them for a walk. And I'll do the same for Jax, if he ever comes over. Then I'll sneak into the bedroom and call Amy and Sam in a panic. These are the words of a fellow seeker.
May we find wisdom for our living. So I'm going to tell my own Bilbo Baggins story. A while ago, our family lived right on the edge of Mill Creek Ravine. And the house was next to a church. And the house and the church were the same architectural style. They were the same brick. And there was absolutely no doubt that the church and the house belonged together. And that the house was probably where the minister lived. And anyone who guessed that would have been right. As a result of that, we had quite a few visitors. They weren't all as eclectic as the dwarves, but some of them were. One particular regular was named Mike. And me and Ainsley remember Mike very well. He had the kind of life where he would take one step forward and then something would inevitably happen and it would force him to stumble back 2 more steps. When he came to the door, he was usually hungry, was often smelly after a few nights in the ravine, and usually he was satisfied with a peanut butter sandwich or whatever we had in the fridge to send him on his way. But we got to know him so well over the course of time that one December I made the offer for him to come over and have a shower and stay for dinner. And we probably made arrangements for a particular day. I don't remember, but these things often happened with Mike. You'd make arrangements with him, and then you'd see him maybe the day after, or maybe the week after, or maybe a couple months later. That's just the way Mike's life was. But we'd made plans to meet for a dinner, and that particular year, Mike decided to take us up on that offer on Christmas Day. Why not? It so happened we were hosting that year, so great, no problem. Probably a bit obvious. He knocked on the door when the driveway was full of cars and there were all kinds of people around. Unexpected, but what to do? So we thought, well, we can't go back on our offer now, can we? So he came in, he had a shower, he did a load of laundry, and he stayed for dinner. And Mike, though, he was not like those dwarves. He didn't bring 12 friends with him. He didn't empty our pantry. But in fact, he was a perfect guest. But our extended family that was there for dinner were not quite used to the perhaps the peculiarities of being a minister that lives next to the church. And so they were a bit, oh, this is interesting. But they were gracious and friendly, I am happy to say, with my extended family, and they had probably a very unique and interesting dinner and evening that was about more than the same old family stories that are told again and again and again. And it made me think, Christmas dinners, as special as they are, when you go back a while, it's hard to distinguish one from the next. Well, was that the Christmas that Uncle so-and-so was there? Or what Christmas was that? They're all kind of similar. And I'll give you one thing, for me and for my family, that year sticks with us. The year Mike came for dinner. The wisdom we seek is really how to be hospitable, not when it's easy, not when it's your best friend, and not when it's your children or your parents. It's when it's not convenient. Easy when we plan for it. Easy when we clean the house and prepare for guests. Not so easy when they show up when the house is at the ultimate dirtiest. Not easy when there's nothing in the fridge and you've got 20 other things to do. Reality's schedule, the way things always turn out, because reality is harsh sometimes, is never so neat and tidy. As Anne Lamott describes in her book, she wasn't ready for her son to be a father at 19. She wasn't ready to be a grandmother. She wasn't prepared to take the financial responsibility that it was going to require of her. And just when she was enjoying an adjustment to a life without kids in the house that didn't revolve around all of that, and something new turned up. But her self-described low-level hysteria, which I really love that she describes it this way. I think I relate to that. On the surface, it looks fine, but there's some kind of hysteria going on inside. That level of kind of panic about the whole unplanned situation had to make way. It had to. It had to make way for a new, unexpected role. And Anne had to embrace that role of grandma, ready or not. So she welcomes her grandson Jax into her life unprepared. And yet, as she wrote, she's always ready to be the librarian, to be the walker, to be the one ready to feed him, ready to have her life changed. I think it's a beautiful sentiment and an honest one. So that's family. Check. We got that. But what about strangers? One of the great pieces of wisdom I take from reading the stories of Jesus at various mealtime gatherings is his ability to welcome a stranger. You know, not someone who's been hanging around him for a couple years, not family, a stranger. And maybe I'm so fascinated because I'm really just jealous, to be honest. Maybe it's just because I'm so crazily not like that. The story of Mike aside, Mike wasn't a stranger by the time we invited him to dinner. The whole invitation to a total stranger thing is not one that's easy for me. I'm guessing it's not easy for many people. But as an introvert who can publicly act perfectly fine like an extrovert, enough to fool you, I can do it, but I've got to tell you, it's difficult and it's exhausting. You see me collapse afterward. So you know what they say, hospitality is making your guests feel at home even when you wish they were. Get it? At home? You wish they were at home? That could be my motto. Sure, come in, come on in. Would you like a drink? Sit down. And secretly I'm thinking, I wonder how long they'll be here. As far as I can tell, the stories we read today of the dinner at Levi's house where there were these, the story says taxmen. When you read between the lines, you realize they could just as easily say traitors. Traitors, as their fellow Jewish neighbors would call them, traitors to the Roman occupiers. And then all sorts of other disreputable characters. Well, we have to use our imagination for that one. So there's this crowd, but there's also the elite there. So we've got these two factions, and I can just imagine them. There's a whole big gap in the room between the two. There's all these disreputable characters, and then there's the social and religious elite. And they're probably hanging out with each other. They're the purveyors of what is supposedly good and upright and decent, and they ask each other, of course, what's he doing inviting all those people? And Jesus, seemingly great at eavesdropping, says, I heard that. Who do you think needs a doctor, the healthy or the sick ones? I'm here inviting outsiders, not insiders. It's an invitation to change all of our lives inside and out. That one speaks to the grumbling host in me. I'm the insider. I have to realize that. I'm the one cooking meals. I'm the one with the roof over my head. I'm the one not worrying about whether there might be enough food for my family. I'm the one who's able to get in my vehicle and drive wherever I need to go. And if I didn't have these things, I have the social relationships and networks and webs to make sure that I can find them or borrow them or get them or do whatever I have to do. And so when I read these stories, I, perhaps like you, think, oh, I know which group of people I've been painted in this story. And I love Jesus' reply, and I also hate Jesus' reply. There's ambiguity in it. This invitation. He says, I'm here inviting outsiders and insiders. I get that part. And then he says, an invitation to change all our lives inside and out. Darn it, Jesus, why'd you have to say that? So you're saying to me the point is for inner and outer change, but not just in the lives of the outsider. Okay, so what this is saying is that it's not about charity. It's not about this group of people making the lives of this group of people better. Okay, it's not about the haves giving something to the have-nots, all right? So it's about the fact that when the outsiders are invited, the change happens to the inviters just as much or maybe more than it happens to the invitees. That drives me mental. That means I have to learn something. So I'm invited to learn something when I open myself beyond my little bubble. That the only way to learn this is to say, oh, I can't just hang out here in my little family. Oh, my comfortable little friends is not doing me any good. I have to somehow open the door on that. Wait a minute, my mostly white and middle-class church community, what does that say to us? I have to be with people I don't know. Well, crap, damn it. I don't always want to do that. Why did we have to go looking for this wisdom? Those are the questions I ask myself when I read these stories. I'm just being honest. So the next story doesn't get much better, curses. Jesus goes over to one of these other elite dinner parties. He loves these things. I think he knows what a troublemaker he is. And it's supposed to be this very refined affair this time. People probably put on their best robes for this one. And since houses in this place and time we know were partly open to the street, or at least toward a courtyard, we know that this dinner party would have been able to be seen. It wasn't totally private. It would have been seen by those passing by. So into this party walks a woman who didn't receive an invitation. And we can do all the imagining we want about what kind of woman this was. The story doesn't even have to say. A woman who the upper crust would say didn't belong. A woman herself who probably would agree that when she looks at the other guests, these aren't my people. She walks in, finds Jesus, the by now famed teacher of spiritual wisdom, and kneels to wash his feet with the expensive perfume and all that. She starts crying. She sees something in him that she wants to honor, that she wants to show respect to. I think we understand from this story that this woman understands that she might find some understanding from this man she's heard about that has been teaching this wisdom. She might find acceptance. She's heard of his compassionate manner towards people, so she's hoping, maybe last resort, who knows? What can I hear from this guy? And we get that she'd like a taste of that goodness or compassion in the midst of a life which must have precious little of it. So as expected in the story, the insiders want her out. Of course they do. They want to condemn her and want to condemn Jesus for allowing it. And once again, I'm painted into the group that probably feels the same way. This is uncomfortable for me. It makes me wonder, how long will she really be here? What do I have to do to get on with things? And he turns to them again. And the point is that he turns to them first. He doesn't turn to her. He turns to them first. And He says, "You're the insiders here. This is probably about you." And he says, "When I came to your home, what did you give me? What did you do for me? How were you hospitable to me?" And when we compare it to what she's done for me, it's nothing. She was very impressive, isn't it? It wasn't she? And when he asks a question like that, her hospitality is very impressive, isn't it? When he asks a question of that to the insiders, is it any wonder that they started plotting his demise? I mean, he turns to them and he says, "This is about you. She's done what you should have done." And then he ignores them and he turns to her and he shows her the respect that's so rare for her. He indicates to her that she's worth it. She's worth all this fuss and all this kerfuffle, that she is worthy of a dinner in her honor. Why shouldn't she be here? That she's worth it. That he speaks to her and praises her and honors her for what she's doing. And speaks to her not as an object, but as a person. And he transcends whatever the culture is saying about her and however they behave to her, and he cuts through it to just see the person before him, to see a person like any of us who needs love, who wants health, who seeks goodness and wholeness and the best for her and whoever she shares her life with. And he says that to her in this interaction. This human encounter is what makes her well. Holy mackerel, this human encounter that you're having, this moment of respect and honor and compassion, this makes you well. And that she should go in peace, not worrying about the judgment of these buffoons. I'm paraphrasing. That's quite amazing to me, that she is well because she has faith. Faith in a whole lot of things. In the power of respect, in human decency to make for a better life, in the idea that someone could invite her and really mean it. Nobody's ever told her that her human way of being, her own goodness, is enough. That she is enough. And that in that story, wherever we see ourselves in it, as the ones who are able to tell that to someone else, that you are enough, and you're invited and you deserve it, or whether we're the ones who need and are craving respect and compassion and kindness. Wherever we see ourselves in this story, we can know that we all deserve it. We're all invited to the party, and it's up to all of us to keep those invitations flowing. It would seem that wisdom that comes from the meals Jesus ate is that a lot of change can happen for those who are at those meals. That somehow our food opens us to a whole lot of things. That when we share food with each other, when we invite people to be at a meal with us, we don't just open the cans and bottles and jars. We open something in us. A little later in these writings of Luke, after this story, the author offers this piece of wisdom. He says, "To whom much is given, much is expected." I like to quote that line from the Spider-Man version, which is in the words of Peter Parker's Uncle Ben, who says, "With great power comes great responsibility." Potato, potato. Spider-Man, Bible, doesn't matter. It's all the same wisdom. Those of us who have a great deal have a lot to do at our dinner tables. There's a lot of work ahead. So that we can know that these feelings that we have in us around our visitors and around hospitality, we can do something about them. I'm not sure how I'll make sure an unexpected guest can turn up at my dinner table in the near future. I have no idea. Sometimes they just happen and you take it as it comes. But maybe you have some ideas for your own meals and your own parties. But I'm interested and a little scared, to be honest, at how I might be changed and how I might learn some more and how I might be open to the kind of compassion that could lead to great and unexpected places. So bring on 12 dwarves to the next church dinner. Come on, we can do it. I wish the same for all of us. May it be so in so many ways. These are words we can share with each other. We call them a prayer. We call them words to strengthen our intentions. We call them ways that we can put into practice the mere words that we speak and say. So could we join together in these words that might strengthen our intentions as we move into this week? We embrace the sacredness of all life as we work toward the vision of the world as it could be. We seek an awareness and a gratitude in each moment, ensuring that our neighbor has enough for today. We pray that we might let go of all the things that cling as guilt and embrace relationships of trust. May we offer and receive forgiveness as a way to freedom. We commit to living examined lives, inspired to find meaning in our living, and working to transform every challenge in an opportunity to grow and thrive and give. As we walk in the light of deep gratitude, may it ever be so. First of all, a thank you to all of you who contribute in all the different ways you contribute to the life of this community, for your presence today and for all the time that you give in various ways to your sharing of stories of this community's impact with your families, with your friends, with your communities, with your financial support. All of it is so impactful and meaningful to us, and so we thank you for it. If you would like to donate to the life and the work of this congregation, you can do so in many ways. Some of you give already through your bank account and through automatic remittance, and we thank you very much for that. You can donate through an envelope into the box at the back as you leave this room. You can always donate online at ssucedmonton.com. And you can purchase grocery cards, which you would think is not a way of donating to us, but it actually is. A small piece of those grocery card purchases come back to the church. And so if you can do your grocery shopping that way, it helps us at the same time. One of the reasons we light this candle every week is to be reminded that the light dwells within us, the light of goodness, the light of all that is in this world, that connects us and that joins us to that which is sacred and holy and wonderful. And that is the first thing. That knowledge is the first step in being able to share it with others, to allow them to know that they also are the light, and to bring that meaning and purpose and compassion and kindness to each other. So as we go from this place, may this light go with us, and may it spread, may it be shared, may it go with us in peace. May my heart be